If you, perfect. If you all decide that you have an interest in this, we are going to be sending out a brief application form to kind of understand a little bit more about your community and what your interests are. We're going to have those applications due by May 30th, because we know June 15th is coming up quickly. So we're going to turn those around really quickly and let folks know if we can support them in the training by June 2nd. And our hope is to select up to 10 different teams, so potentially representing 10 communities. And those teams will be about 4 to 5 individuals to really make sure that we've got the infrastructure in place and enough folks who are trained to really bring this parent cafe to your community. And I am certain that you're going to get to hear lots more about kind of what all of this looks like in this next hour, but we just kind of wanted to set this out for you at the outset so you can be listening with these training opportunities in mind. All right, I'm going to pass back to you, Tammy.
Thank you, Molly. All right, so now you have a kind of an idea of what we're looking at, what we're wanting to do. Now you need to learn more about parent cafes. So Arrenia, take it away. I'm going to put the spotlight on you, and if you need to share your screen, you should be able to do so.
Good morning, everyone. Happy Friday. Wow, I can't believe it's Friday. I don't know about you guys, but I have had a very, very long week.
Yeah.
But I'm excited to be here this morning and to share with you. I will tell you, I talk really fast. So especially when I'm nervous, and it's not that I'm nervous, I do have a passion for parent cafes. And sometimes I get excited. So if I talk too fast, please raise your hand, ask questions, unmute, we have some fun. Ask me, it can be a random question. I don't care. Just relax and we're gonna have a great time. So if you guys can see the screen, if you'll give me a thumbs up, just so I know that I'm sharing, because it looks like some are frozen. Very good. Thank you, Mr. Bobby. You are the first one I see on my screen. So I might, if I call your name a couple of times, it's just because I see you on my screen. All right. So what is Parent Cafe? We are going to go through a couple of these slides. Some stuff you may already know, some stuff you may have heard. But what I'm going to ask you just really quick, if you guys can put in the chat, if you've even ever heard of a Parent Cafe, as far as maybe been to one or anything like that, because that will give you a little bit of knowledge of, you know, just what, okay, I see some never, okay, oh, very interesting. Wow. Okay. That's awesome. Thank you for that information. So that tells me a lot. We have trained in Austin before, so I just want to make sure that this word is spread, because it's very interesting that nobody has been there, but we've done several trainings in Austin. So thank you guys for sharing that. But what is a Parent Cafe? Parent Cafe was created by Be Strong Families, and it is a platform to be able for parents to be able to talk about things that are very important to them. It helps to mobilize and educate parents to strengthen their own families. Parent Cafe, it utilizes the 5 protective factors, which we'll get into a little bit later, and that's just to continue to help that building that community, building that family. I think about when I was younger. And if I would have had these protective factors that I knew of, maybe I could have been maybe just a little bit better a parent, or just be more mindful of, okay, I am resilient, things we're going to talk about. And so just be mindful of that. Maybe when you were younger, if you could have used these protective factors, how much better of a parent would you be? So we're going to get into that. Okay. So here we are, the 5 protective factors. It focuses on building those protective factors. These are research-based. And so for Parent Cafe, we have resilience, we have relationship, knowledge, support, and communication. And again, we're going to break those down really quick. So when we think about being resilient, we're thinking about being strong and flexible, bouncing back when life gets hard. Now we say bouncing forward, because we don't want to bounce back, we want to keep moving. So we tell our parents to bounce forward. When parents are psychologically and emotionally healthy, they are better able to consider long-term situations. And so, we're finding that there's lots of child abuse, neglect, just that mental health component. And when our families are emotionally healthy, they're able to process a little better. They're able to serve and help their families, their communities a little better. So when we say resilience, we say bounce back, bounce forward, and keep it moving. So then when we talk about relationships, our relationships is the social connection that parents need friends. We all need somebody to talk to. How many single moms or, hey, even single dads at this point? And all we have to talk to is little Johnny or little Tiffany. And we need a friend to support us, to let us know, hey, you're doing a great job. You got this, we got your back. And so we know that when parents have that positive, trusted friend in the community that helps them meet their needs, we're able to be better. We're able to know that someone has our back and we're not out here alone. Another one is knowledge. Knowledge of parents is part natural and part learned. I wish somebody would have made a book to tell me how to be a parent. One of my co-loves, she says she's going to make a book and put it on YouTube and charge $19.95 on how to be a parent, because nobody ever tells us. You have a baby and then all of a sudden you have this cute little infant, and what am I supposed to do with this baby? So it's something that we just know and that our friends are able to help us. And so this is how we also build our community. It is important to understand that normal child development so that we can have a responsible expectation for our children. We want to make sure that we know we're teaching them the best that we can. Support, this is my big one. Concrete support in times of need. So many times as a parent, there's things that come up. We have our doctors, we have our psychologists, we have different things. And so when we talk about the support, we talk about, what is something that you can knock on the door, that is your concrete support. That is the support you need. What is out there in the community. And so through Parent Cafe, I can tell you there's lots of resources that parents receive, not necessarily from the facilitator, by listening to other parents. And so that is a huge piece that we really try to empower our parents to lean on your friend, lean on someone that you've met at the Parent Cafe, because they've probably been through something. And vice versa, you may have been through some things and can support that other friend. I can just say, I'm gonna pause right here. We have, I've done this again for a while. And when I first started, I had a mom, she was an ECI mom, and she joined our Parent Cafe. And she met a friend at this Parent Cafe. And so it was always like, Miss Arrenia, is so-and-so coming? And I'd say yes. And so she'd be super excited. And when she got there, she'd look for that person. And they began to make a bond at that Parent Cafe. That was about 5 years ago. Now here we are today. She's one of my staff. She leads the Spanish Parent Cafe and just is an advocate. But she was going through a time where she lost her husband. She had 5 kids. And through Parent Cafe, she was able to find that support for mourning, for helping with her children, whatever other services she needed. And so I will just have to say that support system through Parent Cafe is huge. So had to just tell you that because it's amazing. And if she was here, she would talk your ears off about Parent Cafe and how much she loves it and how much it has helped her, but it was through that support. And along with that, communication. Communication is huge. Our children look at us and how we address certain situations. That's how they communicate. If you're mad and you're slamming doors and when you get upset, I promise you, you have a little one that thinks, oh, when I'm mad, that's what I'm supposed to do. And so you'll go by and they'll slam the door too. Another quick story, my little one she's 21 now, and she was like 5, and then she would take a bath. And I never completed this sentence, but I would always say, what the never completed it. I heard her one time in the shower, in the bathtub playing with her toys. And she goes, what the? And I was like, what are you saying? What are you doing? Where did you hear that from? And her brother was like, well, Mom, you say it all the time. Communication is the key. So I was communicating when I got frustrated. That's what I would say. And so our little ones are listening to us as we communicate. So we will also talk about during the cafe how we effectively communicate, not just with our children, but with other people. And so that is a big piece of parenting as well. So those are the 5 protective factors. And again, they're research-based. There's lots of things that these protective factors can help us through. I've seen them a plethora of times in just different sources and things like that. And so those are what Parent Cafe is based on. So then when we think about how does Parent Cafe help? So Be Strong Families, again, who's created this, believes that the most effective way to strengthen families and communities is from the inside out, building those 5 strengthening research-based protective factors. So it's very important, not just to them. We've seen that research is showing us if we build these, we create better parents. Okay, so now Parent Cafe 101. So when we think about parent cafes, they are held when that time is convenient for families. They're at morning, they're in the afternoon, and they're in the evening. Parent Cafe, we also provide it is free. First of all, that is very important. It is free to the families. We provide a meal, a free meal, or a light snack, and then childcare. If you don't have a meal and you don't have childcare, you're not having a Parent Cafe. That is something that is real strongly believed through Be Strong Families, and it's very highly recommended. Now, there's ways to get around it, but if you don't have a meal and childcare, you're not having a Parent Cafe. Parent cafes also last about 2.5 hours, and that just gives parents time to get in, sign in, mingle, meet other friends, and eat. At the Parent Cafe, we try to make it family style eating. It does get a little difficult sometimes when our families have more than 1 or 2 children, because you got to have that space. So you just have to be creative with that. But we want the families to come and eat together and mingle. And that's how they begin to build those relationships with other families. And so that's just something to be mindful of when you're preparing or even thinking about parent cafes. So, and then we have, what does the Parent Cafe consist of? So we've talked about what the research base is. We've talked about how long they are, but this is actually a Parent Cafe. So you have a meal. Then we do like a welcome and introduction explaining what Parent Cafe actually is. And we have something called agreement. So we don't say rules, but we try to create that safe place, that safe space for parents to talk and feel heard. And so there are something what we call cafe agreements. And then as a community at the Parent Cafe, we go through those together and we get that buy-in. Sometimes it's just a thumbs up. Sometimes it's a nod. Sometimes we try to be creative and we're like, give me a high five or something to let me know that you are agreeing to the agreements that we've set in place. Then once we do that, we create something called a one-on-one conversation. It's like an icebreaker. So Tammy, I see you, so I'm gonna use you as an example. So somehow we would pair each other up. You might get a little cute card, you might get a necklace or sunglasses, however you wanna be creative in pairing up your families. And so Tammy and I would be partners. And I would be the talker and she would be the listener. And so there will be questions up there that says like, who are you? Who's in your family? Think of a time you faced something challenging, what happened and what did you learn? So I would start talking and Tammy would just listen. Tammy can't ask me any questions. She can't interrupt me. She can cry, she can laugh, she can touch me. But this is my time to allow me 2.5 minutes to say whatever I want to say about those questions. And then after that, we switch. Then Tammy's going to be the talker and I'm going to be the listener. And it's the same thing. The purpose behind that is for parents after that one-on-one is over is to create that bond. So Tammy's going to say something and I'm nosy, y'all. I'm nosy. So I want to know, Tammy, tell me a little bit more about that challenging situation. Maybe we have something in common. And so what we hear is, wow, I didn't know you were going through that. Tammy's the CEO. I didn't think she had any issues. I didn't think she had any problems. But you know what? She's a parent just like me. She has problems just like me. And so they begin to form a bond during that. And we call that the icebreaker. Lots of times people cry. My staff laugh at me because I'm like, when I see somebody cry, I'm like, yes. Not because they're crying, but because they've allowed themselves to be vulnerable and share and get something off their chest. I can tell you every single time we've done this, parents are saying that I haven't talked about that. I haven't shared that. I didn't realize how strong I have become from that situation that I've shared with Tammy or with another friend. And so that's, again, what we call the one-on-one conversation, the icebreaker. Then we have something called the roundtable conversation. It's called the heart of the cafe. During that time, there are 3 cards that we place on the table. They're called conversation cards. And on these cards, there's the 5 protective factors. And so each cafe will have 2 protective factors. So for example, we may do resilience and knowledge. So the first round, there's a table host there. And there's 3 questions the table host is going to ask. Who would like to read a question? We can't take for granted that everybody can read. So if for some reason no one wants to read, that table host is going to read those questions. And then under resilience, as a table, they'll decide what question we want to talk about. It could be think of a time when you had to take care of yourself, or how do you take care of yourself when you're facing hard times. And so as a parent, I remember to use the I statements, I remember the agreements, and then I share my experience on that question. And so then you do that for 15 minutes and everybody gets a chance to share. They want to share? Great. If they don't have to share. But we just begin to have that conversation and learn about each other and learn different ways to grow as a parent. And so we'll have 2 of those rounds, 15 minutes. Sometimes you technically can have 3, but a lot of times that makes the parent cafe a little longer. And the facilities that we have actually gone into, there's a time crunch. So if you add 3 cafe rounds, you have to shorten it somewhere else. But I can tell you successfully, usually 2 rounds is enough, because sometimes it can be a little emotional and parents are like, okay, I'm done. And then you got to think about childcare, because by that time, little Johnny's like, okay, I'm done. Where's my mama? I'm ready to go. So you have to be mindful of that, but you can do 3 rounds of cafe conversation. And so then after your cafe conversation, there's a debriefing. So we have like an aha moment. What was something that you learned? Your takeaway from the conversations that you have. We do something called a commitment. And during that commitment, basically, you just make a commitment to yourself. So you get a little card. And on the commitment, it could say, I commit to taking care of myself by, and then I am going to fill in the blank of how I commit to taking care of myself. I'm going to write it on this card, put it in an envelope, and then I'm going to mail it to myself. Or I'm going to address it to myself. And then the facilitator takes those cards. In about 2 weeks, we mail those out. And so it's just a reminder, number 1, of the cafe that you experienced. Number 2, it is a reminder of, hey, am I taking care of myself like I committed 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago? And if not, it reminds me that I have to take care of myself as a parent, as an individual, to be strong for other people, to be strong for my family. And so it's just one of those things that we send out as a reminder. We joke and we always say when parents get them, we are like, okay, it's not a bill. And then we look and like, wait, that's my handwriting. And then it reminds us, oh, that was the commitment that I made. And so it's just, again, a reminder of the cafes. And so then we do what's called a one-word briefing, a one-word closing. So you say a word, you say your name, and you explain why you chose that word. A lot of parents say vulnerable. A lot of parents say resilience, and it's basically why I chose this word. I came to this cafe and I'm very vulnerable. People are crying. I've learned something new, things like that. And so it's just a time for us to share and reflect on the conversations that we had during that time, as well as just being mindful of our own experience. And then after that, we do a quick survey. Now, this survey is, again, created by Be Strong Families. The surveys help us because we learn as far as how to do better. Have parents gained any knowledge from the parent cafes that they've attended, and what else they would like to see? Those surveys do go to Be Strong Families, and every agency that we've trained, once they get on board and they start training them, their name. So for example, UT Austin would be under an option to choose and click it. And then when it's time for you guys to get the surveys, you can see what your parents are saying about your cafe and what needs to be changed. And for us, I'll say us as an MHMR, I'm able to get grants based on the increasing of the protective factors. So that has been a huge help for us. And some of the feedback, as you can see, this is only one of the many that we've done, but these are 2 questions that come actually off of the survey. And then what parents are saying. So if you can see, as a result of my cafe experience, I want to be more involved in the host agency. That is across the board. We generally get 90% of families that want to be involved. And being involved means maybe I continue to come, and maybe I help bring decorations, bring food, spread the word, whatever that looks like for them. That's how a lot of our parents want to be involved. And then what else do they want to tell us about the experience that they actually had that day? And so as you can see, I found strength in the cafe. It's good to hear experiences from others, learn some good self-care phrases that I can use, just on and on, helps me remember to be patient. Like, those are the comments that we're hearing. So as you can see, this was only a few, but just that is what our parents were saying. Like, I'm not typing this is what they're saying. So I wanted to just let you know, like, it is beneficial. It does help. So then we've done all of this. Now what's next? Like, what do we do next? And that is attend the upcoming training. Tammy said it earlier today and gave you guys some information. And so then once you attend that training, you're going to create a team of trained staff and then schedule your cafe. And so it is highly recommended that you send at least 4 people, 3 to 4 people from your agency to come to the training, because for every 4 parents you have, you need a table host. Now, the facilitator can be a table host, but you have to have at least 2 or 3 people so that you can have an adequate number of parents. Now, have I done a parent cafe with 1 parent? Absolutely. And it worked. And I was like, you know what? That 1 parent that came, they needed it. So we did it. My staff came with me. And so at that moment, I was a facilitator. All my table hosts were parents. But that mom cried and she was like, thank you so much. It can be done. It's best to do it with more than 1 parent, but it can be done. And so you want to make sure that you have enough staff trained to be able to assist you. So once you're trained and you schedule your meeting, you want to find a location. When we think about locations, you need at least 2 rooms, because you need a room for the cafe and you need a room for childcare. You want to make sure that the room for the parent cafe allows for tables, chairs, and food. You can be creative, but you want to make sure that that space is safe, comfortable for your parents. And so when you're thinking about what kind of space you need to have a parent cafe, that's what I want you to think about. Is there enough space for 2 rooms? And can I have tables and chairs in that location? And then you want to set a date. Pick a date and time that works best for your parents. And then you want to create a theme. So once you pick that time, you want to create a theme. So there's themes like taking care of yourself in time of need. Do you need a coffee break? What's behind the mask? And all of those are themes that some of my staff come up with, some of our parents have come up with. Once you get the first few out there, the parents will give you things. They'll tell you what they want to talk about. And then as facilitators, as the leaders, you want to make sure be creative as possible. I think there's one called donut for dads, but do not talk about it or something like that. Very cute. So there's so many ones. Survivor. But I can tell you our parents help us come up with lots of these things. And then you want to have your decorations. So with us, we try to make sure it's colorful, it's interesting, because nobody wants to go to a meeting or a party and it's black and white and everybody's down. But with all these colors and we have music playing, it just changes that atmosphere. And so those are how you would create that. Again, you'll learn all of this through training. We will break it down for you. And if you come, you'll hear these same stories. So just be prepared. And then arrange for, like it says, meals and childcare. The first one, I mean, through COVID, it was different, but before COVID, we were doing them in a school, and we've done like the first two. And then after that, the parents were like, can we bring food? Sure. And so we had tamales, we had tacos, we had all kinds of food. And me and my staff, we were like, okay, yay. But that is one way of saving money. If our parents want to do it now when we were going through COVID, you know, we had to do the box things, and which was different, but now we're back to a place where parents are able to cook, and that's how they want to contribute. And so we allow them to contribute that way as well. So you want to make sure that you have that food. Childcare it can be a little interesting. It can be sticky. I will tell you, for everyone we've trained, childcare is a hurdle because you got to have the right people. How are you going to pay those people? And people ask me, how do you guys do it? We actually hire staff to come, and that's all they do is they do childcare for all of our parent cafe groups, all of our parent education groups. And so that is something that it has been a challenge across the board. I have heard I think it's Keller ISD, I'm not really sure, but it's an ISD up here that they have the high schoolers that are going through like education to get their associates through school, and they're allowing those kids to come and do childcare for them as volunteer hours with the supervision of an adult. And so that's just some ways that they're being creative. And then after you get all of that taken care of, you want to set an RSVP. So you create a flyer. For us, we use Eventbrite. It's taken us many years. Before we were texting people, it's been crazy. But now we use Eventbrite. We create a flyer with a QR code. We send it out to just people that have come before, and they spread the word. And then that's how we get our parents. With our agency, we have, of course, different programs. So we send the flyer to those programs, and they tell their parents about the Parent Cafe. One thing I can tell you is it's hard to tell you a person what a parent cafe is. You have to experience it. I can tell you all day long that this is how it made me feel, but until you experience a parent cafe, it is kind of hard to tell parents what it is. And so what I tell a lot of my staff, people that are asking, build that relationship. If you have a relationship with Mr. Bobby and Tammy, and you go in their home and you're like, do you trust me? 9 times out of 10, if they trust you, you've built that connection, then you just say, come on and come with me, right? And so when they come, then they spread the word. That is how our parent cafes are spread, by having 1 or 2 parents come and they spread the word. Then it's just like wildfire. And they come, bring a friend. So that is how you're going to get that word out. But again, you want to create an RSVP so you know how much food to buy, how many people you need for staffing the cafe, as well as how many children you're going to have. So that is one reason why we encourage a RSVP. So then, and I'm almost done. I didn't talk that fast. I know Ms. Tammy has different ways of you guys signing up, but I just wanted you to see what's coming up. The QR code that is on here, it is our Eventbrite, so that I know. Of course, I'll get with Miss Tammy. You do it however you want. I don't know if you want them to scan this, but what this is going to do is just let me know who's all coming, as well as for you whenever you're ready. They don't have to sign up with this. Again, I just wanted to create it so in case everyone wants to, you have a way of doing that this way, or however Miss Tammy would like you guys to do it. And then that being said, here's my information. Again, my name is Arrenia Thomas. Here's my email address. And then our Help Me Grow North Texas calendar. On this calendar, if you're in Tarrant County or in our 18 counties that we serve, and there's a parent cafe and you decide, hey, I want to come. On this calendar, on this website, if you go under the calendar, you'll find not only our parent cafes, but you'll find all the groups that we're doing in the community. And so there's tons of things. I will tell you, in case you go on there and you see something called Wild Talk, that's my baby too. Wild Talk is words of wisdom. It is for teens, just like the Parent Cafe, but it's only teens, and they do a little bit of different things. But I can tell you, again, I know we're talking about Parent Cafe, but I have to put this in there. 2 years ago, they said we're going to do teens, and I was like, I don't even like teens like that. No, I want the babies that don't talk back. But I will tell you guys that those babies are teens. I love them. I love them. And they tell us this is a time for them to share just like the parents. So if that is something you're interested in as well, we do that training as well. But I want to let you know, so if you go on the website and you saw it, that's what that is. So that being said, Miss Tammy, I am done. So if there's any questions, just fire them away.
Yes, Arrenia, somebody would like to see your previous screen again.
Absolutely. This one?
Yes, that one.
Okay.
However, there will be ways for us to enroll you in the training. And if you'll notice in your chat, I'm putting different announcements in here that you'll see for instructions. And I'm going to remove your highlight. And if you can, I guess, stop sharing your screen now, Arrenia.
There we go.
And we can all see one another. Okay, there we go. All right. So I know on the Be Strong Families website, there are some videos of some actual parent cafes in session. And so you can actually view a parent cafe happening, which is very, very informative. There may be some other videos too. Arrenia, can you tell us more about that?
Yes, so I actually have a video on YouTube when we first started doing this. Because Parent Cafe is confidential, in my video, you can't hear what the parents are saying, but you can see them. And so basically I break down again what the Parent Cafe is. And if you will actually search on YouTube, my name, and it should come up with Parent Cafe. I can try to find that YouTube link as well. On Be Strong Families, they do have parents that talk about their experience at the Parent Cafe and how it has helped them. And so those are the two videos that I know of off the top of my head that can just give you a little bit more about Parent Cafe.
I know that helped me a lot when I was trying to learn more about it. Seeing it happen makes it make much more sense.
Absolutely.
So let's open this up for questions. And I'm sure that you've got lots and lots of questions. So feel free to unmute yourself and ask Arrenia any question you'd like. Well, maybe not any question, but related to parent cafes.
Hi, this is Tina Hunter from the Giddings State School. So are your parent cafes like at the school system, or are you all utilizing the buildings in the school, or are you utilizing other community buildings?
Okay, sorry, it was hard for me to unmute. Yes, ma'am, we use both. We are able to go in, we do them in schools, we do them in churches, community centers, wherever anyone is welcoming a parent cafe. I can tell you with a lot of our schools, it helps. There's some kind of a parent education outcome that the schools have. And so parent cafes is one of those ways to meet that outcome. And so we've done them mostly in like the library of the school. And generally, I'll be honest, we do it like either first thing in the morning, because I've seen as a parent, if it were me and I'm dropping off my child, maybe I don't work that day, I'm not going to go home and come back. I'm going to stay. And so sometimes these cafes happen in schools at like 8:30, because we're going to feed them breakfast anyway. So that way that allows parents to just drop off their kid and go straight into the parent cafe, or do it right before pickup time, because then the parent is already there. So that's what we're finding in schools. That work has been successful.
Good question. Others?
What I see a little question. Oh, wait. What are some disadvantages? And well, honestly, there's really not a disadvantage. There's not I think when I think of a disadvantage, it would be when you don't know what a parent cafe is, and it's hard to get that word out. So then you don't have as many people come, but that's huge to say, give me 2 parents and do it, because those 2 parents are going to tell somebody else. And then you encourage them to bring families. And so that's how it grows. So if your parent cafe starts out with 3 people, that's great. I mean, that's amazing, so that they can spread the word.
There's also a question about the materials that they'll receive. And I know that if you go through the training, you will receive a toolkit to equip
Yes.
you to do these parent cafes. Arrenia, can you tell them what's in the toolkit?
Yes, ma'am. And so you will get a manual and you'll get, and I'm at home, so I don't have cards, but you'll get, it's called a cafe in a box. And there are over 300 questions in this box. And so that right there is how you start your cafe. You need that to start. And so we always tell people, use your book. Once you go through the training, use your book. In the training, I will tell you, the first day you experience a cafe. And then in the afternoon, we break that cafe down. And then the next day, you will facilitate a parent cafe for everyone that's there. And so that's the time you're able to be creative. And we do tell people, you know, there's materials that you guys have to bring, but it's just like tablecloths and centerpieces. And we tell people, use what you have at home. Be creative that way. So just a heads up, whenever we come and if you guys register for the training, on day 2, you will do a cafe as a team and you will bring all the necessary decorations. But other than that, we provide the book and the cafe. Yes, the toolkit is in Spanish. Well, the cafe cards. So one side is English and one side is Spanish. Now, if someone's coming and they need a Spanish book, I need you to tell Tammy, because when I come, I'm only bringing English because that's usually what we have. But if you need a Spanish book, make sure that you let us know, so I'll bring one.
And how are these parent cafes funded traditionally? Now, let me just preface that by saying we will be paying for the training fees, and that includes your toolkit. But the selected programs will be responsible for your own travel, transportation expenses, and hotel accommodations if you choose to come to the Austin training on June 15th and 16th. But once you begin implementing parent cafes, how are these usually funded, Arrenia?
Through grants. I have probably 6 grants that have funded our parent cafes, because we kind of roughly estimate food costs about $150 per cafe, depending on staff, depending on the amount of parents, and then with childcare. So that's how we pay for it. So they're funded through different grants that we have. Some locations will donate food, but you know, it's just up to you how you do that. But I will say for us, it's grants.
And how is the money actually used? What is the money needed for?
It's for food, supplies. So for food, again, it's $150. Supplies can be, we have in our budget, we tell them $150. You can get away with not quite $150 for like decorations and supplies and things like that. And then childcare, it just depends. I think they get paid like $15 an hour. It's probably 2 hours for each cafe. So probably roughly about $450 per cafe, just give or take. Okay.
Have you ever seen groups partner with the local PTAs to get some of this funding, or to have volunteers do childcare or so forth?
Now, that is something that I have pushed with a lot of organizations, a lot of schools, to utilize those resources. I haven't physically seen it except one location. It wasn't PTA, it was their moms program. And so their moms were able to help do like the childcare. They provided the food, things like that. But that was just that one.
Okay. There is a question in the chat about children under 6, and I don't recall seeing this somewhere.
Yeah.
Does this appear somewhere?
It's probably on the link, because the ones here in our 18 counties that we serve, there's 2 different fees. So that's where they saw children under 6. So for us, as long as we can invite our families and they serve children under 6, there's a different fee. So that's what you guys are seeing on the website. That just tells me they didn't change it for y'all's exact thing, but it's okay.
Okay. So that just refers to the fee for coming.
Yes.
Okay. So do you charge the parents fees?
No, we charge people that we're training. Parents, it's free. it's free. We did train some people and they tried to charge our parents and I lost my mind, but
Yeah.
it's okay. No, it's free for parents.
What other questions do you have?
I see someone has a hand
I
up.
have a question. You mentioned earlier that you work at the LMHA. So do you do these groups specific to your LMHA and in the community, or is it just really community based?
It's everyone, anybody and everyone. So we've done them for our office, we do them for community. It's not specific, it's anyone.
We do parent support groups, but I think this would be a better alternative to that in the 8 counties that we serve. So.
Oh, 100%. I mean, nothing against parent support groups, right? Like nothing at all they needed, but this is just something different. And that's what we hear. Oh, I thought this was just another parent support group, until they get there and realize, oh, it's different. So I do hear that quite often. It's just a supplement. Okay.
Thank you, Shanna. We have a question from Sierra Boyce.
Yes.
Hi, yes, I wanted to know, I heard you mention something about the dads groups. How does that end up working? Do they kind of break off into a separate group? Have you seen a good response with dads intermingling with moms? How does that end up playing out most times?
So I'm glad you asked that question. There is a cafe. So there's parent cafe and then there's a dad's cafe. So they're telling me, I don't know why this is a thing, but they're telling me I can't leave the dad's cafe because I'm not a man. And I'm like, I don't like that. But generally, it's just all of the dads come and they go through those. I have not been successful in it because a lot of our dads aren't as responsive as I need them to be. So if they come with their wife or their partner or whatever, we try to split them up. So that way that mom can have her conversation, or dad can have his conversation without the other watching. I will say in Keller ISD, we did have a couple of dads come. And so I was like, okay, let's just make a whole dad's table. Let me tell you, those dads would not stop talking. They were like, and I would say time, and they just continued. It was beautiful. A lot of the moms were expressing that my husband doesn't have anyone to talk to. They make friends. And so I highly recommend, if you have a dad's program, as long as you're trained, you can do it. It's just, I don't have a lot of men coming through the training that can go back and facilitate them, if that makes sense.
Thank you so much. That does. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Thank you, Sierra. And then Sarah Howe has a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Sarah, you're on mute. There you go.
Yes, I'm sorry. I'm
That's okay.
on the radio at the same time. I was just wondering, I work in a completely immigrant refugee community, and I was wondering if you guys have any experience or can speak to, have there been adaptations made, or has there been success? I'm looking at both like Central American as well as Afghan, Congolese, but particularly I'm really thinking like Guatemalan, Honduran, right around our neighborhood.
We actually have. That was a it was an interesting experience for me. So we had to translate all of the agreements. We had to have a translator. It worked. Different cultures. What I did find is that the culture didn't really talk to men, so the women couldn't talk to the men. And so that was a bit challenging. But if you go on Be Strong Family's website, you can order some of those materials in a different language. Kiwanda, I think, is one of them, but I'm not real sure the name of the, oh, sorry, I just went blank. I'm not sure of the different languages they have, but I do know they have several different languages that you're able to purchase off of there. I don't have those. We only have the English and the Spanish version, but you can't order them off of Be Strong Families.
Thank you. Great.
You're welcome.
Arrenia, do you know if the cafe sessions are billable using any type of group code for family partners?
We haven't found that. We put it on there as family education. It has not been billable for us through MHMR. It's just a supplement.
Yeah, okay. And Melanie, you have your hand up.
Well, and that's exactly where my head was going. Like, this is a this could be a family partner group, a parent education group. All of the
Yes.
components are in place for this to be billable.
Mhm.
What am I missing? Like, why would, maybe it's the credentials of facilitators, or why wouldn't you utilize that if you're at a LMHA that has that option?
That's above my pay grade. I'm not sure.
Okay. Okay. Well, and that's not why I raised my hand, but that kind of triggered my thought, because I really think, to me, this is an extension of our family partner work.
Mhm.
That this is just a more formalized structure. You know, anytime that you bring in food and childcare, certainly that's going to up our ability to get families in the
Yeah.
door. And so I absolutely love this. My question is around facilitator credentials.
Mhm.
I don't have 4 to 5 family partners to be able to like get a team up and running. But I can see bringing in like some of my clinicians to do this work. How does that typically work when you work with like centers and LMHAs doing it? Because I'd love to have 4 or 5 family partners, and when I get them, I think we could really have something amazing, but hiring's hard. But do you have specific credentials to be able to be a facilitator for this?
You just have to have a passion for parents and for kids. There's no credentials. There's nothing like that. You do have to be trained. And so one thing I want to stress is Be Strong Families created parent cafes for parents, and they should be facilitated by parents.
Okay.
In my agency right now, like, I don't have a whole lot of parents. The one that I was talking to earlier, she was a parent. And I just so happened to hire her 3 years later. And so she says that. And so you don't have to have any credentials. Now, parents will have to go through the training, and that's something I'm working with Be Strong Families, because a lot of parents can't take off for 2 days, right? To come to a training. So they are doing some things. And if you come, you'll get the book and you can see how they can walk alongside you. But there is ways to make that happen. And we can talk about that, of course, again, if you come to the training. So just think, I just need a parent that can facilitate it.
And can you tell me what centers are already doing this? Because I've got ideas about like how I could cross this with my ECI group and kind of, have a group that does both, because I'm over our youth and families services and the mental health side. And so can you tell me what other centers are doing this so that I can find a friend there?
I will have to get back with you. I'll write your name, because I know we've trained Any Baby Can in Austin. Do y'all know them?
Mhm.
I see one head shaking, yes. So we trained 25 of their, I don't know what they were called, but we trained 25 of their staff the week before spring break. And then we trained some other staff about 2 years ago there in Austin as well. But I'll have to look at the agency. The only one that stuck out to me is Any Baby Can.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And I'd like to ask Molly. Molly, I see that you do have your hand up too, but I was wondering if you could help us maybe understand some of the possibilities for collaborations in this effort.
Yeah, and let me speak for a second to Melanie's question. We have trained over the past few years, or supported the training, I guess I would say, for a number of family partners across the state. And I don't know, I'd have to look to see if we can come up with names of exactly who that is, but I know, like, for example, Verlin Johnson at the Harris Center, Stormy, and I'm not sure where she's at right now, to be honest with you. But so we have trained a number of family partners with that same thought that you have, Melanie, that, it looks a little different because the model is traditionally more of a public health model where, it's kind of inviting all of the families there, but having this be a way to bring families together that are maybe involved in the children's mental health services, I think is also, a great avenue and a great idea. I don't get to speak to billing because that's not my role, but we sort of agree with you that family partners, are one great avenue for kind of building this work. And speaking to collaboration, I think, you know, another great opportunity is all of the work that local mental health authorities are doing in collaboration with schools. And so as we think about doing, you know, youth mental health first aid and our family educational activities and all the things that, you know, LMHAs are really doing to engage with schools, partnering around, you know, building that family engagement through parent cafes, I think is a real strength. Now that's kind of back to that model that maybe we can't fund in, you know, in a, you know, Medicaid way, but that it builds on those other activities we're doing to support schools and engage with schools in that work.
Thank you, Molly. Shanna, you have your hand up?
Yeah, I was just thinking when it came to the billing, probably the reason it's not being able to be billed is because it's not led per se by the family partner or whoever from the LMHA. It's parent led. I mean, that would be my guess. But a lot of family partners are parents. I mean, we have to be, right?
Right.
So, I mean, I'm just wondering if it couldn't be a group billing if it was one of the family partners who after work for the LMHA, you know, that kind of thing. And then my other question was, so if we were chosen, the group that we would need to bring should probably include parents.
That would be ideal, but again, it doesn't have to be.
Okay.
Right? You might have to start out with your staff and then incorporate the parents. And we do talk a little bit about how you can start training those parents and utilizing them through the training. And basically they may help you with the welcome. So you give them the book and you talk to them about that. They really start off as table hosts because that's where the struggle is. A lot like Millie was saying, she may not have that many people as far as that can come do it. So once you get there, you see that parent that's like really outgoing, or maybe you have a relationship with that parent, they can be your table host. So you're just going to walk with them what they're going to do. And what you want them to do basically is hold that safe space for those parents at the tables.
Okay. My brain's going trying to like figure out how to.
Yeah. Arrenia, could you be available for additional questions after today's webinar? If anybody
Absolutely.
would like to contact you?
Absolutely. And I don't mind staying on a little bit longer if need be. Not a problem.
Do you mind putting your preferred contact information in the chat for us?
Yes, I can do that.
And then everyone else, you can find in the chat box in several locations the link to the survey, the implementation readiness survey that will be required to fill out. It's very, very brief, but you will need to do some thinking, some planning probably before you begin filling out the survey. And again, the deadline to submit that is very soon. This is a quick turnaround. This is going to be due by Tuesday, May the 30th at noon, because we'll be making those selections that week and notifying everybody. And you'll be able to tell us in that survey which of those training options that you prefer. Are there any final questions before we disconnect?
Well, I had one. I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead, Tracy.
Will this go out in the email as well, that link? Because I was trying to copy it.
If you'll click on it and just open it up in your browser and then just bookmark it, that'll be your easiest way. But I'll send out, I think I'll send out, well, I don't know if I can send out, I don't know if I have if I can, I'll send everybody a printed copy of the survey. But if you just click on that link, it'll open up for you right now in your browser.
Okay.
And it has all of the same information that I'm putting in the chat.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Arrenia, it is 9:30. I don't want to take any more of your time. Thank you for spending Friday morning with us. We appreciate all the information. And I want to wish everybody on the line who's interested in this, good luck. Call me if you need help, if you have questions, and we look forward to reviewing your applications very soon. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful weekend.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll stay on for. Okay. Arrenia, also still on, you'll see Natalie, Feacock. She's my supervisor. You, Natalie, can you wave at Arrenia? There you go.
There you are. Hi, Natalie. How are you?
Yeah, so she'll be supporting me while we review these applications that come in. And we're gonna limit the June 15th and 16th training, of course, to 20 people, plus probably 2 or 3 of our staff who can assist you as table host or however you'd like for us to assist.
That would be great.
Okay. Yeah, and, we do have the location secured. It's going to be over by the domain at the JJ Pickle Center in the Commons. That's the conference center.
Oh, okay.
At the Pickle Research Campus. And I'll send you the exact address and some hotel recommendations.
Okay. And that's who you sent me, because I did call them about food.
Oh, good. Yes.
To see what that looks like. They won't let me bring anything in. So
Yeah.
I was like, oh, okay. Because normally we
I'm
have
sorry.
the meal and then we have snacks because they're there so long.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's going to be kind of tricky. But
Yeah.
it's fine.
I'm sorry.
We'll make it work.
It's those conference center rules that you can't get around very easily.
Yeah. I didn't ask them because on the tables there's candy, and that's just for, I think it should be fine. It's not like a
Say
gourmet
anything
meal,
about-
but
Yeah.
yeah, I'm just gonna put it on the table.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that actually helps us as far as bringing extra stuff.
Uh-huh.
So
Okay.
that, because normally we have to bring the coffee and all of that extra stuff. So that helps a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, sure. And like I said, they have a cafe on site and the lunch is real affordable. It's like, I don't know, $9 or $10 per person for a complete lunch.
Okay.
So there's that option if you want to make it a working lunch or a fast lunch.
Okay. Yeah, we can definitely look at that once we get there.
Okay.
And that just will give them probably extra time to plan.
Yeah.
And so I really want something that like Be Strong Family doesn't stress, but we hear it, is to let them know that day 2, they are going to have to go get items and bring to decorate. Now we say, go to the dollar store, go to the Dollar Tree,
Yeah.
and look at what you have at home. And that's just based on the theme. And
Okay.
so that is not really a complaint, but we hear, I wish I had known that, I would have brought some things.
Yeah.
So I want to make sure that they know they will be doing and demonstrating up here in Cafe the day 2.
Well, maybe some of us here in Austin can bring some supplies.
Yeah.
And, set up a resource table that they can grab from if that becomes an issue.
Yeah. And that's totally possible. So with 20 people, I can tell you there'll be an AM cafe and a PM cafe. So both teams will be separated. It should be 10 on each team.
Okay.
And they will do 2 different cafes.
Okay.
So that's what that's going to look like. But
okay, cool. Natalie, can you think of anything else that we need to know about?
I don't think so. I'm wondering, like, is it appropriate whenever we say, like, congratulations, you've been accepted? Just